I don't see what the big deal is with Lana Del Rey stealing Radiohead's song. I guess I would see what the big deal is if I was Radiohead or Lana Del Rey, but I don't know why it's gotten so much attention. I don't know why it's gotten so much traction. This sort of stuff has been happening for decades. It seems like other cases didn't get as much attention as this has. Is it because Radiohead and Lana Del Rey are popular bands? Because it's not the first time that this has happened. I keep seeing it pop up everywhere. I keep seeing everyone talking about how Lana Del Rey took a song from Radiohead. Everyone has talked about it, or at least gave it a quick mention. Is it because Creep is a beloved song from the 90s generation, or Lana Del Rey has die-hard hardcore fans? I don't know why any other case, at least to me, didn't seem like it got a lot of attention or it gained so much traction. So for example, I came across this video titled 11 Most Obvious Song Ripoffs in Music History. So somebody put together 11 cases of where musicians ripped each other off, or it seems that way. This is only 11. There's way more than 11, but let's take a look at some of these examples that this person put together. I'll put the link in the description box so that you can go check it out, take a look for yourself, and people don't say that I'm doing the same thing Lana is. I'm stealing shit from other people for my benefit. Go take a look. I don't have a problem with telling people to go to subscribe to other channels. I have no idea what this channel is, who it belongs to. I know nothing about this channel, but go check out the video and subscribe if you like the content. Anyway, let's take a look at the video and let's see what he has listed. Or she, it, whatever. Who the fuck knows what? For all I know, a dog's running this channel. I'm just a stupid, dumb, cis male that deserves to die and burn in hell for eternity. I'm a male feminist, by the way. No, I'm not.
I used to rule the world. Seas would rise when I gave the word. Now in the morning I sleep alone. Sweep the streets I used to own.
Melody sounds the same, in this part at least. I'm not a musician, I know nothing about music. This is just my ignorant opinion on the matter, so.
This is what you'll get.
I love this song, by the way. It's
This is what you'll get.
probably one of my favorite songs from Radiohead, and I didn't know that these motherfuckers had ripped it off from the Beatles. Nonetheless. It's not as obvious though. This doesn't count. Hold on, this doesn't count. This is like, I think everybody knows, or anybody that knows the Led Zeppelin song knows that Sean Kingston took that sample from the Led Zeppelin song to use in his song, kind of like what a lot of hip-hop artists used to do back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like how P. Diddy took a sample from Every Breath You Take by the Police and used it in his own song. But I don't think anybody was ever trying to say, or at least not that I can remember, I don't think P. Diddy was ever trying to say that the Police was not responsible for that sample. And I think this is what Sean Kingston is doing here. I don't think this counts because this isn't like I accidentally wrote a song that sounds like somebody else's song. This is what I would assume is blatantly obvious, that he just took the sample from a song to use on his own song. He took a sample and added a twist to it. So this is not the same situation. Lana Del Rey apparently wrote a song that sounds a lot like a Radiohead song. To me, this doesn't count as 11 most obvious song ripoffs in music history. Is it a ripoff? I guess, but it's not the same situation. At least I would assume that Sean Kingston isn't saying that he never took the sample from this Led Zeppelin song.
It's complicated, it always is.
The piano sounds very similar, but I think once the song kicks in, it changes drastically. This is what I'm talking about. This is... Yeah, like this, the P. Diddy didn't claim that he wrote this part, that this song was 100% his idea. I think it was obvious to everybody that the original was written by the Police, unless they stole it from somebody else, not that I'm aware of. This is not the case we're talking about here with Lana and Radiohead. Look at me referring to her by her first name, Lana. Who am I? Who am I to call her by the first name? I should refer to her as Miss Del Rey. From now on, I will try to do my best to only refer to her as Miss Del Rey and treat her with the respect that she deserves. Treat her like the royalty that she is. She, to me, is royalty.
Living your life after death.
Yeah, like I don't think there was ever an argument as to whether P. Diddy actually ripped off this song. I think everyone knew that's what he did, but I think he had permission from the Police or Sting, whoever's in charge of that. And I think the Police made pretty good money from P. Diddy's song. I think P. Diddy had to pay a certain percentage to the Police for using their sample or for using a sample from their song. Yeah, and here's another issue with the Lana Del Rey and Radiohead situation. That apparently Radiohead ripped this song off from a band called the Hollies. Which I do hear it, but it's a different part in the song that Radiohead ripped off. It's like Lana Del Rey ripped off a different part from Creep, and Radiohead ripped off a different part from The Air That I Breathe. Everyone's just ripping each other off. But I'll talk more about that in a bit. Now here's a ridiculous case where Vanilla Ice actually was claiming that he had written this song and that he had not lifted the sample that he lifted from the Queen song. And he was actually going around telling people that whenever he got interviewed and they questioned him, he would say, no, it's my own. I did not take it from Queen. This is like the most blatant, obvious ripoff. And Vanilla Ice, being the douche that he is, I don't know if he's still a douche, but back in the 90s, he was like the douchey Justin Bieber of that decade. So being the douche that he was back in the 90s, he was actually going around trying to convince people that he had written this song entirely by himself, or it belonged to him. I don't know if he actually said he had written it, but you know what I mean.
Yo, VIP. Let's kick it.
I mean, in the history of ripping songs off, this is the most obvious. I mean, I don't know how this guy had the balls to say that he hadn't. All right. The Phantom of the Opera is a ripoff. I guess so. I do hear it, but... Oh, he ripped off two songs. Kind of like Radiohead. This Andrew Lloyd Webber character. This doesn't even matter. Who the fuck sits around listening to the Phantom of the Opera anyway?
My soul was empty, my body broken, my heart had no...
And I just pissed off a bunch of Phantom of the Opera fans. Nerd. Holy shit. I'm not aware of this, actually. I hope Green Day isn't going around claiming that they wrote this song, because that fucking thing sounds identical to whatever the Kinks wrote. So I don't know anything about this case, but this is what I mean. That there are so many cases like this, and I don't know why it was never bigger news. I don't know why Lana Del Rey's situation with Radiohead gotten so much attention. It seems odd to me. Maybe it's because people are hardcore fans of both bands. Like, to me, for example, Radiohead is definitely one of my favorite bands of all time. They would probably be in the top 5. If I had to pick 5 bands, I think they would probably make that top 5 list for me. But I love Lana Del Rey. I love her music. I don't know why I love sappy, sad, maybe almost depressing music, but I do. I love it. I think it brings a certain emotion out of me that no other type of music brings out of me. You know, this music that almost makes you want to slit your wrist. It's so depressing, but it's so good if you get into it and if you get it and you understand it. And Radiohead has a lot of what people would consider fucking sad, depressing songs as well. Or maybe depressing's not the right word, but, you know, just very mellow, very, I don't know, just sad, I guess. Or they sound sad. Maybe the lyrics aren't, but I don't actually usually read lyrics either. So I haven't paid attention to music in a long time and haven't cared for an artist for a long time until I listened to Lana's music. She is probably the most recent artist that I've grown to like, that I've grown to love. And not to mention that she's hot, and that might have had something to do with me continuing to watch her videos and listen to her music, because she is sexy as hell. And am I in trouble now for saying that? Did I just sexually harass Lana Del Rey for saying that? Who knows with today's environment what you can and cannot say. You know, next thing you know, in the future, someone's going to play this video and said that I sexually accosted Lana Del Rey because I said she was sexy and hot as hell. To me, she is. To me, she's hands down the sexiest female singer out there. And I like weird girls. I don't know why. I've said this before. I said it about Kristen Stewart. I love her weirdness, but I think she's gay now. And so, well, like I had a fucking chance. But I love Lana Del Rey because she's a weirdo too, but I love that about her. And I think that's what people sort of like about her. She's not, you know, your typical run-of-the-mill pop artist. She's not like Taylor Swift, nothing against her. She's beautiful too, but Taylor Swift's videos to me are boring, and Lana Del Rey goes out of her way to make her videos more interesting or different. For a while there, she had a thing for older dudes, you know, it's almost like she had daddy issues. All her videos had like old men that she was falling in love with or something. I don't know what that was about, but whatever. If anything, it makes me wonder, maybe she might like an older guy like me rather than a younger dude. But then I realized, who am I kidding? Look at me. I'm a mess. I'm disgusting. She would never look at me. But who knows? Who knows? She just might be one of those weirdos that actually likes a person for their personality and not their physical appearance. And if there's a person that might be like that, it's her. She might be just that type of person that completely ignores the physical appearance, the outer shell of somebody, and completely focus on somebody's personality. I could be wrong, but she sort of does come off like that. You know, like one of those super hippie girls that completely doesn't care about what you look like, but rather how you make her feel and what type of personality you have. All right, so anyway, let's take a listen to the songs at hand. I found this video. I'll post the link in the description as well so that you can go listen to it for yourself. And, you know, if you like the channel, subscribe to it. This person's doing slightly better than me. He's got 75 subscribers. God, nobody's watching this shit. I don't even know why I bother with it. So he put a side-by-side sort of comparison to it, and I thought it was kind of interesting to listen to so you can hear how close they sort of do resemble to each other.
Finally, I'm crossing the threshold from the ordinary world to the river in my heart. Undoubtedly, that will for certain. If the dead
All right, so when you do a mashup like this, it does seem a lot closer to the song by Radiohead, Creep. Somebody was trying to explain this to me, and they were saying that, because I'm not really a musician, even though I love music and I used to love it a hell of a lot more than I do now, to the point where I actually am somewhat of a beginner at playing the guitar. I'm not good in comparison to some of the people out there who are just fucking phenomenal at playing all kinds of instruments, but I don't understand the technicality behind it not as much as other people. And somebody was trying to explain to me that apparently there's like 4 chords that Radiohead is using, and so it's Lana Del Rey, and they're using them in the same sequence, so that's part of the reason why the songs sound so similar. You can sort of write multiple songs using those same 4 chords, and the song would still sound very similar. So that's sort of basically how I understand it. I know I'm not really doing a great job at explaining it, but there are plenty of people on YouTube who can explain it better than me. So if you're interested in trying to understand the technicality as to why these songs sound so similar, go nuts. There's plenty of videos out there. So this whole thing started back in August of last year, and it only came to light until I think Lana Del Rey tweeted that Radiohead was suing her for her song sounding a lot like the song that they wrote, Creep. And then Radiohead came back, I don't know when, but they said, or it wasn't Radiohead, I think it was one of the representatives or lawyers or something, and said, no, they're not suing her. And Lana claimed she was willing to give them some 40% of the profits from that song. And Radiohead said, no, we want 100% or nothing. Then Radiohead's lawyers came back and said that no, they didn't say that. Radiohead never claimed that they wanted 100%. There's 2 sides to the story. I don't know who's telling the truth. To this day, I don't even know if they're going to court. I haven't really looked deeper into the case, but it makes me think that maybe Radiohead did say that they wanted 100%, or their representatives, and then maybe they thought better of it, or somebody got to them and said, hey, you might want to back it down a notch, because you guys did take that song from a band called the Hollies, that they wrote a song back in the 70s that sounds a lot like Creep as well. And I think in that case, the Hollies sued Radiohead, and Radiohead had to pay some money to that band and had to include them as co-writers or something for the song Creep. So maybe Radiohead decided we'll relax on this a little bit, because maybe we are guilty of the same thing. And the thing is that Lana claims that she had no intentions of ripping off their song, that it was all accidental. And it seems like Radiohead's not believing it. They're not buying it, but it seems hypocritical to me, because it happened to Radiohead, according to them. Because back when that whole case with the Hollies and Radiohead happened, when they were being sued for taking their song, that was the excuse that Radiohead used. They said, well, we had never heard that song, and we accidentally wrote a song that sounded a lot like your song. With that logic, you would think that Radiohead would think, it happened to us. If they're telling the truth, unless they're full of shit, it happened to us that we accidentally wrote a song that sounds a lot like another song. So why couldn't it happen to Lana Del Rey, that she could have possibly accidentally have written a song that sounds a lot like a Radiohead song? It seems hypocritical that they wouldn't see that if it happens to you, why wouldn't it happen to somebody else? Unless maybe they're lying, unless they actually knew and were well aware that their song Creep sounded a lot like another song, but they didn't give a shit. They just went ahead and did it anyways, which is something Lana Del Rey could have done as well, but who knows who's telling the truth. By the way, I believe anything Lana Del Rey says. That sweet, innocent angel could not have done anything wrong. I'm on Lana Del Rey's side. I'm Team Lana. I love Radiohead, but they're not as hot as she is. I'm sorry. I love Tom York, talented man, but he's not quite the looker, at least not to me. Maybe because I'm not gay and I like women, and Lana Del Rey is a great specimen of a woman. I just love that woman. I just love anything she does, anything she says. To be honest, it's maybe getting a little bit unhealthy how much I love that woman, how obsessed I am with her. Speaking of creep, maybe I'm sort of looking like a creep right now for talking like this about her. But I do, man. I love her. I just absolutely obsessed with her music and her. Most beautiful woman on the planet to me right now. Seriously. So who knows what's going to happen, but it seems like Radiohead's being a little bit hypocritical to me. And I'm not saying that just because I love Lana. I love Radiohead too, but I don't know where it's going to go. I think taking 40% from whatever profits that song was going to make was a pretty good deal to me. I really hope they weren't demanding 100% considering that they also stole that song or ripped off that song from somebody else. But it looks like Lana Del Rey will probably... Hey, didn't I say I was going to refer to her as Miss Del Rey? I completely forgot. I mean, Miss Del Rey. It looks like Miss Del Rey will probably end up paying some money because the song sort of does sound very similar to Creep, but I don't think Radiohead's gonna get 100%. They'll probably just get the original 40% that she offered, but who knows. But anyway, enough bullshit. Point is, this happens all the time. I don't know why this has gotten so much traction in mainstream media. Who knows where it's gonna go, but that's all I have to say about that. So peace out. Take care.